And we are live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CBA show. And join me live is my amazing co-host Clarice and our rock star guest May King Tsang. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I believe we are live on YouTube, on Clarice LinkedIn page, and Facebook on Periscope. So let us know where you are joining us from geographically and in terms of social media. And today we have the great honor to have our dear friend May King to share her journey and her story of becoming brave again. So before we get started with our interview, I just want to spend a few seconds to introduce our amazing guest. And May King and I were actually connecting in person, actually quite a few times, right, May King? Yeah,
Yes, I think we just missed each other in San Diego last year. So I saw a lot of your tweets and we kept missing each other.
yeah.
And then this year is the first time we actually met.
I think before that year, I knew you because you were tweeting so much, which is a great way to start our introduction. Because we never met in person, but you were like this. Your tweets was just like nonstop, coming up all the time. I think easily number one. So yeah, so that's a great way to spend a few minutes to introduce Making. She is the official formal creator, which she's going to explain to us what that means and a social media correspondent. And she did her first show at Atomic 19, Andrew and Pete, their sold out conference. And making your role was to live tweet and broadcast live on Facebook and Instagram from her smartphone. I don't know how you do it, but that sounds so amazing. And has been live tweeting professionally for many years, helping conferences, festivals, workshops to trend with their unique hashtag in Australia and the United Kingdom. And you continue to help conferences around the globe with her FOMO. Oh my God, I already have FOMO right now. And so this year, you have been hired to formal create and social correspond at a music festival, social media conferences, and master classes and workshops, and so far. Wow, that is amazing. And you love tea. You used to be the tea lady, and now you are the live tweeting lady. So I can't wait to hear more about your journey and story and how you took the courage to become brave again. So thank you so much for joining us live and being on our show.
Thank you so much for the invite. And wow, what an introduction. That was amazing. Thank you.
Of course, I know that is like only a teeny tiny part of how awesome you are. If you ever met this amazing lady in person, you'll be like, wow, that introduction doesn't do any justice.
You're making me blush now, honestly.
Yeah.
Stop it. No, keep going. No, stop it. Keep going. No, stop it.
So let's get started. So you grew up in the UK, as we can hear from your beautiful British accent, and then you moved to Australia, and you had to restart your career from scratch. So can you please share this journey with us, and what were some challenges and fears that you had to face and overcome to be where you are today and to get settled in a new country?
So, as you say, I first started my business in tea. So my name is Making Tea on all the socials. And I just started my business in London. And I was starting to get some traction. One day, my husband came home and said, "We're moving." And I said, "Oh, great. Where?" He said, "Australia." So my heart sank because I thought, oh, wow, I've just started my business. I'm starting to get known. Got my teas in a market stall, in several shops and so on. I don't know anybody in Australia. I don't know how to run a business. I don't have any friends in Australia. What am I going to do? But of course, I wanted to support my husband and support his career, and he comes first. And so that's what I did. And, I did what I do best when I'm networking. I asked at networking events, does anybody know anybody in Australia? And I got the name of one person from Sydney. Now, I was very lucky because we had to go to Sydney for a week before we moved to Brisbane. So then I also tweeted and I said, hey, I'm moving to Australia. Anybody know anyone in Sydney? I'm moving to Brisbane. And I started to connect with people then. I created Twitter lists as well, just so that I can keep track of those people who live in Sydney, those in Melbourne, those in Brisbane. And that's how it started. So I did throw my toys out of the cot for about a month. Like a spoiled brat. I thought, I don't want to move. But then eventually I had to pick myself up, and we had 6 weeks to move. So in 6 weeks, moved over to Australia, built my business again from scratch. From those tweets that I sent out and from the person I met in Australia, I started building relationships very quickly. And I think that because I am unique, I am a BBC, British-born Chinese. A lot of Australians, they were really confused by that because I have this Chinese-looking face, but I have a British accent. So it was a great icebreaker at networking events. So very quickly, I started to get known as a tea lady, and so I also needed to work really hard to get known, because the first 5 people said to me, you're not going to do well in business because you didn't go to school or college here. So that was my first challenge in Australia, to gain the trust of people when I have a foreign-looking face and a British accent, when I didn't go to school or college in Australia, when I didn't have any friends or family in Australia, and yet I wanted to start a business. So I had to work really, really hard, and very quickly I found out about the power of Google Plus and YouTube and also Facebook groups. So with Facebook groups, I created, this was 8 years ago now, I created the first Facebook group for businesses, and I went in there. Yeah, and I went in there and I supported business owners. I asked them where they needed help, where they needed support. And then suddenly everybody saw the power of this group and started inviting their friends and started helping each other. And it was incredible, the change and the impact that it made. Some businesses made as well, of course it was. And sometimes people offered their advice very freely. And I loved that. And very quickly I was embraced by the Australian community because I built this Facebook group. So, my business started to go quite well, because I was an early adopter of Google Plus, Google Hangouts. I started to appear on page one of Google very quickly and got to work on some amazing projects that I'm so proud of. So one of my biggest projects I'm proud of is working with a Chinese artist. So he was responsible for the opening and closing of the Beijing Olympics. And I performed. Wow. I know. And I performed Chinese tea ceremony at his exhibition in Brisbane. And they found me just by Googling Gongfu Tea Ceremony, Brisbane. And up I popped everywhere because of my Hangout channel. I also started to appear on radio, TV, newspapers, again, through Google, through Twitter, because that's where journalists hang out. And they were looking for a tea expert, and up I popped everywhere. I even appeared on TV with this.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, things were going well, relatively well. And then one day my husband came home and said, I don't love you anymore. And he wanted a divorce. And he also told immigration that we had separated. So for me, it was very challenging because, again, I went over to Australia to support his career. Suddenly, 2 years later, he says he doesn't love me anymore. And then he doesn't support me either. And it was very difficult to comprehend, that to go through a very unexpected divorce, to go through, this on my own effectively because I had no family there. But I didn't want to go home. Australia was my home and I wanted to fight. And because what was incredible about Australia was because I had created this Facebook group and I supported thousands of other business owners. One of my friends in the group said to me, why don't you ask Queensland Business to help you? Maybe they can raise the money for your visa. Maybe they can help you to stay. So I did a quick crowdfunding video, and within 24 hours, the money was raised for a visa. This was 3,500 Australian dollars was raised in 24 hours, which was incredible. And it was anything back. And then when I needed their help, they helped me. So they were my family, and it was so emotional and so powerful, and I was so grateful. Now, unfortunately, another challenge came my way because I applied for the visa. I had to stay in the country until they made a decision, and it got rejected. And I appealed. That also got rejected. I appealed that. I went to the Minister of Immigration, and I argued that I'd made a significant impact in the Australian community. I've built this Facebook group. It now has 9,000 members. A lot of money is being made in the group. I am one of the top 50 speakers of tea in the world. And unfortunately, all of that wasn't enough. And eventually, they said I had to go back home. And so I went back home September 2016. And again, it was very emotional, very upsetting. I'd made some friends in Australia. I started to make a life for myself in Australia. My business was starting to go well in Australia, and I had to go home. And that was very, very upsetting. So anyway, what I discovered was actually the universe was giving me a third opportunity to rebuild my business again. And with all the lessons that I'd learned in Australia, all the successes, all the failures, all the mistakes, I can come back home, be given a third chance, and do it bigger and better than ever before. And that's what I did. So I became more strategic, more streamlined, more focused. I was still very upset. Of course, unexpected divorce and things. But I worked very hard, and very quickly I was able to rebuild my business to a point where I've made more money and my mindset is more positive, and I've made a much bigger impact in the last 2 years than I did 6 years in Australia. Wow. Through various reasons. So, I am extremely, extremely grateful with all the challenges that I've had to face. Not particularly happy about the way they were presented to me. It would have been nice not to have gone through a divorce. It would have been nice not to have been thrown out by immigration. However, all of those challenges, they taught me a lesson. And, now I'm still seeking help and guidance. So I have a business mentor that helps me, a book writing mentor who is helping me to write my book, a podcast mentor that's helping me to produce my first podcast, and a therapist who is helping my mindset to really help me to make a bigger impact on the world from here on in.
Wow. What an amazing journey and story. Thank you. First of all, thank you for being so transparent and so open, and just like open yourself up and sharing your personal and the struggles, everything with us. So truly, truly appreciate you, MayKing. And you are such an amazing woman. And I resonate so much with so many things you mentioned. I think, every time when life throws us a lesson, and when we are going through this, it is very hard to even comprehend, so why did this happen to me, right? But in retrospect, you gain that gratitude. So thank you for this, because I did learn a lot. I did grow a lot. And so this particular thing helped me get to where I am today. So I definitely resonate with that part. So if you can really reflect on your journey and maybe share a few key takeaways for other people who are going through a hard time, and if you can kind of tease out the essence. So what is it about you? What is it within you that really helps you overcome this and like bounce back, you know, like becoming stronger than at the beginning of this journey?
So thank you so much for your kind words. I mean, I know, you have an incredible story that you've shared, and Clarice, you've had an incredible story that you've shared as well about how you've had to, pack your bags and make a new life for yourself. And we have all, everyone who's listening, we have all faced a story, in one way or another. And no one story is more extreme than someone else's. We've all dealt with it. We've all had to deal with it. And I think for us women, we're very practical. We just get on with it because we have to. We have to survive. We are used to surviving because of it. We face way more challenges than others. And especially us Chinese folk, we face even more challenges than anybody, right? Of course we do. But we just get on with it, don't we?
Like, that's so true. Like, every time or my husband or other people say something, and I was like, you know what? I'm tough. I'm a Chinese. I could do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
One of my dearest friends, he's my friend and my business mentor. He's also a client. And he said to me, he's never understood racism. He's never had to deal with it growing up. He's a tall, white male. And so trying to explain to him some of those stories, he cannot understand or comprehend it. But he finds it fascinating. So he tries to, talk to me and try and understand. But he'll never really, truly understand. But anyway, going back to my takeaways of what people can learn from the challenges. It is hard. It is so hard at the time. And if you are able to try and see yourself outside of the situation and go and seek help, that is the thing that you have to do. You have to go and seek help. Now, I know I struggled with that at the start. I really struggled with that at the beginning because sometimes when you're under a cloud, and especially, for those of us who live with mental health, when you're under that dark cloud, you can't see for the woods, for the trees, and it's very difficult to get out of that duvet in order to seek help. But if you are able to, I really, really recommend that you do. Now, I've noticed in the past 2 years that my periods of when I've gone under a cloud of depression, the periods have become shorter, and it's because of self-awareness. And in becoming self-aware, when I know that I am under that cloud, I go and ask for help immediately. And what has been incredible is that I've got some amazing friends who notice when I'm not on social media. And when I'm not on social media, they will send me a message and say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? So I'm really, really grateful that I've got some amazing friends who actually watch out for me. And sometimes I'm not on social media because I'm busy. I've got, a really busy schedule. But I'll just send my friends a message saying, I'm okay, I'm just working. But if I'm really feeling really, really down, then I'll say, I'm not doing okay. And then I'll pick up the phone and talk to somebody. So if you can seek help, try and become more self-aware. Try and meditate and become more self-aware. And when you become more self-aware, then go and ask for help. As I say, like I actually pushed myself into my work for 2 years, and I thought I was doing okay. And unfortunately, I think it was about 2 months ago, I shared a very personal story on Facebook, and I thought I was absolutely fine. But unfortunately, it resonated with a lot of people. And when it resonated with a lot of people, suddenly a lot of people needed a lot of help. So I was talking to all these people. I think there were about 12 people in total. And it was exhausting. And I was so tired, I had to sleep for about 2-3 days.
Wow.
And then after that episode, then I realized that I wasn't well. I needed to go and seek help. And that's why I decided to hire a therapist.
Wow. Wow. Now I'm intrigued to check out the Facebook post. But Thank you for again for sharing this. I know, it is not easy to be vulnerable, but I also think every time when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we also connect with others at a much, much deeper level. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from your story here, because so many of us, we are kind of in similar situation, but we just don't talk about it. Even though on social media, everything's looks great, amazing. Everyone is making 6, 7, 8 trillion figures, but the struggles we don't hear that much. So thank you for sharing. I think this is a great kind of transition to talk about your professional career. As you were talking about Facebook, so you were known as the tea lady, and now, as I introduced you earlier, you are this FOMO creator. First of all, please explain to us what that means, and why did you make this transition? What inspired you to live a really good career, being known as the tea lady, to become a FOMO creator and live Twitter? So share the transition and then define FOMO creator for us.
So I've always been live tweeting. I've been tweeting professionally for 9 years now. And in my tea career, I would go to food festivals, or I would go to arts evenings or restaurants, and I would tweet about it. And when I started tweeting about it, other tea companies would say, oh, hey, that's amazing. Can you do this for us as well? And so I slowly moved away from selling my own tea and doing well on social media to becoming a social media correspondent and live tweeter and tea consultant for tea companies. So big tea companies like Clipper Teas, small companies that are just starting up in Australia and the UK. I also had to sign NDAs as well with large companies who were doing a rebrand. So I was helping them with their social media. And then what happened was I always like to shine the spotlight on other people. So your hashtag is Be Brave Again. My hashtag when I interview people is shining the spotlight. And I love to talk to people, love to talk to small businesses, ask them what they do and what impact they're making on the world. And so when I started to do that on Periscope, again, people were saying, God, that's amazing. Can you do that for us as well? And so I started offering my services as a professional live tweeter for events and organizations and so on. And then I approached the fabulous Andrew and Pete, who you guys all know. They're amazing. And I said, oh, hey, I hear that you've got a conference coming up. Can I live tweet for you guys? And they said, we love your live tweeting, but can you also Instagram, Facebook, and do your interviews as well? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? And that was my first FOMO creating gig. And we all sat together having a dinner together, and we were talking about what name should I call it. And it was Andrew who came up with the name FOMO Creator, which I love. So for people who don't know what FOMO means, it means fear of missing out. And what I'm trying to do is the excitement inside a conference or a festival or a masterclass or workshop. I'm trying to broadcast that out onto social media and get that excitement outside of the four walls. So I do that by interviewing attendees, sponsors, speakers. I live tweet like a fury. I interview people and just get that vibe in that atmosphere. Little clippings of video, Insta stories, that kind of thing. And then we put that on social media with the main aim of getting the event trending on social media. So for Atomicon 19, for Andrew and Pete's conference, they trended in the UK on the same day as International Women's Day with my help. We also reached about 28 million people that day. So that is just under half of the UK population. And so that's the kind of impact that I can make on conferences by tweeting, by Facebooking, by Instagramming. I just came back from Amsterdam, and there was a workshop of 14 people, and they were talking about very sensitive subjects. And the host, she asked me, can you do some FOMO for me on Instagram? Just Instagram, because I'm not on Twitter. And I said, no problem. I can definitely do that. And within an hour, 2 hours, I think it was, of me posting on Instagram, she got five sign-ups to her LinkedIn newsletter. She got 5 new followers on Twitter, and I think 15% increase on her Instagram followers as well. And that was within 2 hours. So FOMO does work. When you create the excitement on social media about an event, people want to get excited and they want to get involved too. And that's what FOMO is all about. So it was a natural transition from me creating excitement from Twitter for myself, for clients, and now I do it on all platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, of course.
Oh, that's really good. I mean, like, I've never heard this part of how you started on Twitter, but what I was really impressed making about yourself was when we first met. We were on this panel on like Vivid Talks, and then you were live tweeting at the same time while trying to answer the questions. And I was like, okay, so how do you do that? You need to type to focus, you need to listen to focus. How do you manage that? Could you explain your, workflow to us, or you have any, tips or tricks that, is it something we can all learn to be doing multitasking?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your question, Clarice. And yes, I remember that that conference very well. We were sat on the same panel, and I thought, normally I'm sat listening to speakers, and now I'm actually a speaker. How can I demonstrate that I live tweet? And I thought, you know what? I will live tweet from the stage, and then explain to the audience afterwards, just in case they think, oh God, that May King's so rude. She's on her phone, she's not listening. But what I'm actually doing is listening to the speakers and tweeting what they are saying at the same time. And I have Tim, who organised Vivid Talks. I actually have him to thank, because he said to me, how do you do that? In exactly the same way that you did just then. He said, how do you do that, May King? And I said, I don't know, I just listen and tweet. And then he said to me, but I can't do that. In my head, I was thinking, well, that's because you're a male. You can't multitask.
That's not true. I can't do that either. I don't think I can do that. Can you do that, I?
No, I can't. I definitely tweet, but it's very challenging. I feel like, no, I can't do both.
Yeah.
Really well.
You just tune out, right? You type a little bit, you listen to a bit, and then you tune out, and then you type. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think there's something.
What's this secret?
Like, I can't understand how you do like tweet, like live tweeting. So tell us, on each platform, what do you do on Instagram? The story you just shared earlier, they were talking about like sensitive topics. So what did you post? Do you do Instagram stories, or you do like the news feed? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I did a bit of both. And with regards to your previous question of how do I tweet, how do I listen, it's almost like I'm actually surprised that the both of you are not good at tweeting, because I am sure that you are, really, because you speak, well, 2 languages. You speak Mandarin and you speak English, right?
Yeah.
Which means that your brain is kind of split into 2, because you are listening. You can listen in English, but then respond in Mandarin. And I'm the same. I can listen in Cantonese and speak in English. Okay, so it's almost like my brain is split into 2. So I almost split my brain to listen and then tweet. And so that's why I'm able to do it at the same time. So I don't zone out. I don't zone out. I'm actually able to actively listen and absorb that information whilst tweeting what has been said 1 minute prior. So I am sure actually both of you, I and Clarice, you'll be able to do it, because your brain is already wired to take in languages, really. But going back to your next
practice, as you mentioned, like 9 years, that's lots of practice. Like for me, like, I don't practice that much. So because you are good at it and you intentionally cultivate this and you practice a lot. So yeah. So I understand. Yeah.
And going on to your next question about what I actually Instagram about. Yeah, it was actually a great challenge. I loved it because of the fact that what was being discussed on the tables were very sensitive issues. And so Miriam Hadness from Workshops Work, that's her hashtag, she said that she actually explained to the facilitators, the attendees, that I might post a subject, but I won't say who it came from, just to protect the people. But even that, for me, was still very challenging because I didn't feel comfortable in sitting next to somebody and listening, just in case. I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversations. So what I did was just walked around the workshop. And if I heard some expressions that were being expressed, oh, me too, I totally agree. That is so amazing. That is what I captured on Instagram. Okay, so the excitement, the mood, the aha moments, the style as well. So there were three tables of 5 people on each table. Now one table actually decided that they wanted one person to speak and everybody else to listen, and another table had paired up. So 2 people were speaking to each other, and another 2 people were speaking to each other, and then one person was listening to all of them, and then at the end they would then share their ideas. So I actually talked about that as well. So the actual structure of it, and also the surroundings, the atmosphere, the room. The room had an amazing chandelier. Miriam, who is the organizer, she was timekeeping, so she had this amazing clock. So I talked about that. There was also an amazing photographer who was also taking photographs, and quite often the photographer is forgotten about. So I took photographs of him and talked about him because he was actually doing some headshots after the workshop as well. And then right at the end, what I did was interview people. Okay, so at the end of conferences, quite often you'll get a videographer who'll come around and say, can you give a testimonial? And most people will just say, I don't know what to say. And they get really scared. What I did at the workshop is say, can I give you a bit of free publicity? So of course they're going to say, yeah, of course, May King. So then I asked them their name, what it is they do, and then I asked them what was the biggest takeaway from the workshop. And that's the kind of information that we shared on Instagram. And what we also did, which was really powerful, is all the attendees, we asked them to write their Instagram name on a flip chart. And so I would tag them on some of the photographs, and I would encourage them to share as well. So some of them took pictures of the Instagram names, and they shared that. They commented on that. They tagged Miriam, and that was the kind of information that we broadcast that day. So it was absolutely phenomenal. And even I tweeted 5 times, and Miriam has I can't quite remember how many followers she has, maybe 50, 60, something like that. We still managed to reach 2.2 million people because of the people who are watching, the people who were tweeting, and some of the attendees in the workshop were engaged on Twitter as well. So even though she said, let's do Instagram, I did do a few sneaky tweets, and we still managed to reach a new audience of 2.2 million. So that's the power of FOMO creating. And now she's got the confidence.
I can tell you I have lots of FOMO right now.
So now she's got her next conference. Her next conference is in October. She's got a new audience. She's got new signups. She'll get new people and the existing people to come to her next workshop. And I know that she's going to grow and grow and grow, and she's going to fill a stadium next year. I'm absolutely confident of that because of the value that all the facilitators received in that workshop. And that's FOMO. That's what I do.
Wow, that's definitely. So you definitely have your strategy there. I think very interesting, very interesting. And now you are doing this as a career. So do you actually Like, are you completely staying away from tea making, or you are?
No, I'm not. So last year I did a couple of projects with tea. So I made 4 tea infused beers and launched them in a pub, which was amazing. And I want to launch that project again. The brewery had some personal setbacks, and so they had to step away from the project. What I'm looking for at the moment is, and I think I've found the person, but I'm still going through an interview process. I want someone to help me because I have a lot of knowledge about tea. I get asked about tea all the time, and I really want to share it. During my time in Australia, I built my domain. I bought the website for 79 pence, and unfortunately, I forgot to renew the domain. So somebody bought it, and so I had to buy it back off that guy, and it cost me £2,700.
Oh.
So that was one of my mistakes. But what I learned from that is that my social media worked. Otherwise, that guy wouldn't have found it valuable to buy it, and he must have been confident that I would buy it back from him. So I don't want that to go to waste. I've got knowledge. I've got a lot of tea. I'm looking for someone to help me build that business and build and grow that business. It will still be under the name Making Tea, but I would need someone to help me package the tea, write the articles. And so I'm currently looking for someone, because also the other big project that I want to do is to do the tea infused beers. Because I'm one of the top 50 speakers of tea in the world, because I taste tea professionally on a regular basis, I know that I can create these amazing beers, amazing gins, whiskey, sangria, and I want to launch that. And so I need someone to be able to help me to do that. So the tea business is not going away. I am slowly selling, but just on a very small scale at the moment. And then when I found the right person to partner with me, then we'll launch the other project. So no, tea's not going anywhere. Part of my culture. Ooh. My British culture and my Chinese culture.
How does this, sorry, I'm just curious about this tea infused beer. So does it taste like beer or does it taste like tea?
Tastes like both.
Okay.
Both. So with, do you like Earl Grey, for example?
Oh yeah, yes, I love Earl Grey.
Now there are lots of lovely Earl Greys, and there are lots of horrible Earl Greys. Some Earl Greys are like chewing on perfume, and I has got some tea there, amazing. So I created, I think it was an IPA beer with the perfect Earl Grey and the perfect beer to match it. So when you drink it, it is like tasting beer and Earl Grey at the same time throughout. I had another beer that is made from chai, and the Indian chai, the spices, the cinnamon. Yeah. So that is really a winter drink. It's something that you would have in the winter to warm you up. And I want the spice to come through at the end, not at the beginning, but right at the end. So again, I am looking for the perfect chai for me to be able to produce the perfect beer. And I found it. I just need someone and brewery to help me produce it on a mass scale. That's what I'm looking for at the moment. And I'm also looking for someone to help me manage that relationship too. So
okay, that's brilliant. I can't wait to taste that tea and beer infusion. Is it out in the pubs? Did you say already?
We launched it in one pub last year. So we had a week where it was launched, and it was great because I got some great feedback. I knew that the Earl Grey and the chai would do really well. The other two, I was experimenting. So they were with 2 Chinese beers, and one of them just needed a bit more improvement, and the other one, they said it was good to go. So, and I just need a brewery that will enable me to experiment to do more than that. Because I know that the Earl Grey and the chai will sell, but I want to experiment with more, exciting exotic teas, so that I can introduce people to oolong teas, pu'er teas, and the different varieties of green teas, Japanese sencha. Oh, it's amazing, So I'd love to be able to do that. Yeah.
Wow. I'll be
That's
looking forward
awesome.
to, yeah, do share with us. If anyone's like, those of you who are watching and you are based in, was it, are the pubs in London or sort of just in UK or
In Sheffield. It
Sheffield?
was in
Okay.
Sheffield.
Oops, so I can't get it. So for those of you in Sheffield, you can check in with MayKing, where is this tea infused beer can be found. It sounds really exciting. So if you love both, I think this is just awesome.
Did not have FOMO again.
Yeah, I know. It's only in Sheffield. I mean, like, I'm in London. I can't taste this beer. This beer, yeah.
Well, after this interview, I have accumulated a huge amount of FOMO.
Yeah, we need to get this. We need to get this beer shipped nationally and internationally.
We do. We do and we will, Clarice. We do and we will, definitely. I just need to find the right brewery, the right people who have the same values and ethics as me. The right shipping and the right cost as well. It needs to fit us both, So there's lots of factors to contend with. And I also need the right manager to work with because this is a great project. I worked with tea before. I did really well in Australia, so I know it'll do well again. But I just need someone to work on it constantly because at the moment, the FOMO creating, I love, but I need a little bit of time for the tea as well. I need to make time.
Yeah.
I really love how you are investing in time and energy to find the perfect people and to grow yourself. So you mentioned you have quite a few like coaches, mentors. So is that like always how you kind of learn and develop yourself? Because I asked this question, it took me some time to really understand that I need to invest in someone or courses, things to really help me. I don't know about Clarice. I feel like many entrepreneurs, we have this idea that we kind of need to figure everything out by ourselves. And so was that always part of you making, like investing in coaches to work with you, to help you, or like something happened that kind of helps you and realize that you need additional help other than being a solo entrepreneur?
That's a great question, I always like supporting other people. Always. I have always supported other people. And if I was to analyze that at a deeper level, it might be because of lack of self-confidence, actually, thinking that I can't do it by myself. So when someone says to me, I would love to work with you, I always say, oh, yeah, of course, that'd be great. And we can do this, we can do that. And, two heads are always better than one. That's what I think. However, at the beginning, I didn't have the money to be able to, outsource. The partnering and outsourcing are quite different things. So working with someone or collaborating with someone, I was more than happy to do because we're in this journey together. That was great. But my mistake was that I collaborated with everybody and some people, they didn't do the work. So I was doing all the work. So you've got to find the right people to collaborate with. That was one of the mistakes I made. The second thing is in outsourcing is this is the thing that I didn't do initially because I felt like I wanted to do it by myself. I wanted to learn the mistakes. I wanted to grow organically. It's about me. I made it all about me. And that was my second mistake, of course, because it's not about me. It's about making an impact on my community. It's about helping people to, get better tea, to create excitement in their events and so on. And so when I realized that my ego was getting in the way, it didn't take me long, by the way. But when I realized my ego was getting in the way and the fact that I am a control freak, I had to let go. And so I eventually let go. But I still made mistakes. When I outsourced, I still made mistakes in the same way that I collaborated. I assumed that the people who come to me and say, I can do A, B, C, I assumed they could do A, B, C. And when I outsourced, I didn't outsource to the right people all the time. So I made a few mistakes in the first year that I came here. But that's okay because we learn from our mistakes. Mm-hmm. And so now I am more than happy to outsource because although it costs a bit of money, it frees up my time to do the things that I really want to do. So, when I earn money, 10% of it I try and save, 10% of it I try and put onto personal development. And then, between 5 and 10%, I try and use it to outsource. The numbers are not exact, but, I try and do that as much as I can. And then the rest of the money I try and keep in the business just in case I need a big financial outlay going forward. So outsourcing, yes, I believe in it. If you can afford it, definitely. If you can't afford it, try and find the ways and means to afford it, because it has really helped me. Because the other thing in finding a book mentor, so that's Tim Lewis from Stone & Press. He is my book mentor. I've tried to write a book for the last 10 years. But this last attempt, with the help of Tim, I progressed further in this book than ever before. So Tim is an amazing book mentor. My podcast mentor, Ant McGinley. I didn't believe in myself when I wanted to create a podcast 7 years ago. I really didn't. But now that I've hired Ant McGinley to podcast with me, we're going to create the best podcast out there that helps people to understand that it's okay from making mistakes to making it happen. So I'm going to be, interviewing guests who have made a mistake and who have made it happen. And by getting the structure right to begin with, I know it's going to be a very successful podcast. So hiring Ant was the best thing I could have done. Hiring my therapist, Monica, really is the best thing I could have done, because I thought that I was doing okay. I thought that I'd gotten over my immigration and my divorce. I clearly hadn't, because the Facebook post that I shared was about an episode of where I was catfished. So this is where a chap approached me online, fell in love with me very quickly, then asked for money, and then unfortunately I did give him the money because I didn't believe in myself and I thought he needed money more than I did. So that particular Facebook post, it helped a lot of people. People reached out to me, they wanted to discuss it with me, but because it was such an intense subject, 12 people needed my help all at the same time. I crashed, I burnt out. And it obviously brought up issues that I didn't realize I had. And so Monica, my therapist, really helped me to break that down and to help me to, work through some issues that I didn't realize I had. And then finally, of course, my business mentor. I've changed my business mentor over the past couple of years, but the constant business mentor that I have had is a fabulous David Miles. He is a professional rugby player in Australia, became a business mentor. Now he has a franchising business, and he is amazing. So he's been my constant aid all these years. He believed in me before I did, and he's always been there. He's always been there for me. And I get a help from a couple of business mentors in the UK as well, just now and again. But David has always been by my side. But yeah, I believe in outsourcing as much as possible, because then that frees up my time to be the amazing FOMO creator that I am. And if I don't outsource, then I don't have as much energy. If I don't have as much energy, I won't be able to do as good a job for my clients. So that's why I outsource.
Right, so you said you're going to have this book coming up, and then you're going to have launch a podcast. So when is it coming out? Do you have a date yet to share with us?
So Tim has been asking me that for a while, and because I've been really, really busy and I haven't prioritized, I'm afraid to say that it's been delayed again, but that's okay. So we haven't set a new date for it yet, but I do know that, I've got the next few months I've been really busy, and what I need to do is to set one day aside where I start writing again. So I'm hoping that it will be launched. The first edition, so it'll need to go to copywriters and editors. I'm hoping to finish it by the end of this year and maybe launch it next year. But I will definitely keep you posted anyway, because, who's made a mistake and who's made it happen? Everybody. So everybody will be able to share their thoughts and,
I know you have two people already. Clarissa, definitely me. tons of mistakes.
Exactly. So yeah, so you can be a guest on my podcast as well when I get that done. Hopefully the podcast will be public later this year, but with regards to my book, possibly next year. I don't know yet.
Okay. Yeah, do let us know when it's coming up. You really
Will do.
everyone sort of sometimes they feel like as you grow older you're not supposed to make more mistakes because you have years of experience, you've got a better brain, you're more streetwise, you're not supposed to make stupid mistakes. But think like if you're starting on a new path, you're going on a road that's less traveled, I mean it's very normal in a way to have mistakes. And the thing is not about making mistakes, I think it's more about how we bounce back, as what you shared with us. We know we have a problem, so we fix it. It's just like when you're sick, you go to the doctor, you get it, get some medication, you get well, and then you go on. That's what life is all about. And I think and then you make a really good point. I think this making mistakes to making things happen, I think it will be really popular, and I think a lot of people will feel more reassured in knowing that making mistakes is part of us, part of our DNA, part of human, and it's how we evolve and become better over time.
Yeah, you know what?
Put it better myself, Clarice.
Yeah, we should hire, like Clarice and I, we can volunteer to create a FOMO for you, podcast and book.
Yeah.
But so great with everything that Clarice mentioned. I think that has become a very clear pattern among all the interviews that we did, who shared their stories. And it's really about making mistakes, but what you can learn from the mistakes and bounce back. So true, yeah.
And it's also part of our hashtag say become brave again, is that once you make even if you make mistakes, you still can be brave, you still can do new things, you can do it. And I think at the beginning you mentioned talking about each of us have our own challenges and we can't really compare, one challenge is more difficult than the other. I think what you said is right. And what I really believe in is that each of us, we have a different starting point and we are deal with a different deck of cards. So, everyone has the cards in their own hands, everyone's have their own challenges, and if you're at this stage, you get these cards, and then once, you're done, you get dealt another set of cards. And so we can't really compare apple and orange, can we? So
yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. And one of the great guys that I see on the internet, and I'm going to be FOMO creating for him later on this year, Chris Ducker from Newpreneur. He once said at Andrew and Pete's conference, actually, he said, never compare your first step with someone else's 100. And I thought that was amazing. So, when people say to me, oh my God, I can't believe you tweet so much. Well, it's because I've been doing it for 9 years, so don't compare. If you want to become a live tweeter, you can absolutely do it. If you want to become a FOMO creator, you can definitely do it. Just don't compare yourself to me because I've done it a bit longer than you have. But do come and ask me and I'll give you all the help that you need in order to take your first steps.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, we're just wrapping up here, and knowing we have a few quick questions for your MayKing. So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self or others who are going through a similar kind of life journey, transition, or reinvention?
Ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
When people give help, take it and say thank you, because it's very much a gift for them as it is for you. I refused help for years because I didn't think I deserved it. And why are they helping me? That I kept questioning myself. So definitely ask for help, and if you receive help, receive it with gratitude and kindness, because it is a gift for them as much as it is for you. What else? You're not alone. You're really not alone. Being in business can often feel like the loneliest place on the planet, but it doesn't need to be. And we are here to cheer from the sidelines with pom-poms with you. So don't ever feel that you are alone. Reach out to us. I'm only a tweet away, email, WhatsApp, Messenger, YouTube, phone call. just contact me, ask for help, please do, and I'll do my best to oblige. I really will. You're not alone, and we can face it together.
I love this, especially asking for help. I think I feel the same way. I don't know if it's because I'm a Chinese or has that part. I really struggle to reach out to people. I feel like I'm always annoying. I'm bothering others, right? I saw Claire's nodding her head.
No, I'm nodding my head not because of you're always bothering others. Is I have the same problem of asking for help. So yes, don't misunderstand.
So definitely, yeah. I don't think maybe also gender. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
actually.
It's a Chinese thing. It's a female thing.
Because my mom kept drilling that into my head, like, you know, you need to be independent, don't bother other people, otherwise you owe other people a favor, and then it's not too good. You need to learn to be, you know, do things by yourself, like. So I always think twice. I mean, no, 3 times maybe. Like, do I really want to ask this person for help? Like, what if this person says no? Or actually, can I really do it myself? Or am I lazy?
Rejection, right?
So, yeah.
Fear of rejection.
Yeah, that as
So,
well. Yeah,
yeah.
fear of rejection, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, definitely Chinese thing, definitely a woman thing, I think.
So we have one last question for you, Making. So if you could do dinner with one person you love and respect the most, who would that person be?
Oh, wowzers. Just one person.
Only one.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to say Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher is the front man for an amazing band that helped me through some great times and some darkest times. The band is Oasis. And when I was in my darkest moments, I would try and put his music on just to cheer me up. But he's had some incredible interviews. A lot of people think he's arrogant. He's just very confident. And he managed to create a band that was recognized around the world within 2 years without the help of the internet. And he redesigned his own career again. So he has a new band now, and he's starting to get, make some amazing stuff with his new band, Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. So I would like to talk to him and have a beer with him.
You're special.
Yeah.
You can bring a special,
beer, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thank you. And before we sort of go off, and yeah, we just want to announce like we're going to have our next guest coming up next month as well. So this guy I've known from LinkedIn, he's called Joseph Kennedy. He's from UK as well, and he's moved to Poland, and then he's moved to right now in Bangkok. So he's going to share with us, his story about how he started his own copywriting agency, and then he's like what he's doing in Bangkok itself, and sharing with us like his next steps, like because I think it's really interesting, especially for like Asians moving to the West, and we thought it would be a really insightful story for us to know what do people who live in the West, in a more Western education, moving to the East, and then how they adapt to life there. So it's gonna be really exciting. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be on the August 22nd, on Thursday, because it's in Bangkok. So we are having it at, I think it's 2 o'clock our time, UK time, because it's going to be 8 o'clock Bangkok time. And I'm not sure about Eastern time. 2 o'clock, do minus 5 hours. So we always it's the problem, Eastern time.
I have to double check. Yeah, I used to when I was in Korea much better, but now, yeah.
Probably around morning your time. Yeah, like late morning or something. Probably in August. Yeah, so we're gonna be back on that. So it's gonna be really exciting. And once again, we are really, really thrilled, excited, really grateful that you're here with us today, sharing with us your journey about making mistakes to making things happen. I'm sure our audience who have joined us today, they would definitely have brought away many useful tips, asking for help, becoming brave again, and yeah, starting, even if they have face a failure, making a mistake, they should bounce back.
Totally. Yeah. And last note, maybe share with us where can people learn more about you, Maykin?
Oh, Twitter, of course.
What's your
My
Twitter
Twitter
handle?
name is Making Tea, MayKingTea. But I also have a Making It Happen YouTube channel as well, so you can see me there too.
Oh, thank you so much. This is really nice to get to know you more and learn more. So thank you so much.
You're very
Thanks.
welcome. Bye, ladies.
Have a great day. And yep, we'll share this with our audience. If anything, we'll see you guys next month. Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Hang on a second.